Hey, so I watched Matt Walsh's What is a Woman documentary. I'd like to give it a brief review. The film is presented to ask a simple question. What is a woman? I think the film's title sums up the movie quite well. It's a controversial question nowadays, and it only evokes equivocal answers from the left. Matt Walsh is a right-wing commentator who works with the Daily Wire. He released Johnny the Walrus, a children's book about a boy who believes he is a walrus, so adults surrounding him treat him as if he really is one. This is obviously a metaphor for what Matt views as the left's eagerness to transition kids either socially or medically unquestionably. And that's kind of Matt's spiel. He'll point out the extreme views held by some folks on the left and make fun of them. Throughout the documentary, he speaks to people from the left, the right, though he obviously has a bias to those on the right side. The movie is surprisingly well made. It has great pacing and great visuals. He speaks to a variety of people. There are famous figures such as Deborah Soh and Jordan Peterson on the right, and professors and transgender people on the left, as well as random citizens on the street. I found it interesting to get the opinions of everyday people. The movie feels like watching a long Matt Walsh destroys gendered person by facts and logic compilation on YouTube, which is funny at times, but it would have been a more well-rounded documentary if it included some more challenging lefties. At times, it feels like the left-wingers he does have on are just there to be punching bags, to be made fun of. In fairness, some of them are so-called experts, so they should in theory know what they're talking about. The documentary does a good job of presenting some of the more outlandish people on the left side of this argument. He talks to a woman who identifies as a wolf. This lunacy is surprisingly abundant on the left, and it's so bizarre to treat this stuff seriously.
I am a 27-year-old transgender woman. I am a wolf-therian and a member of the furry fandom.
When and how did you discover this inner wolfness?
Probably around age 10 or 11. I was watching an anime about wolves and see the wolf running across the screen, and I'm somehow just intrinsically like, oh, that's me.
Are you able to communicate with the wolves?
Am I going to have a conversation with a wolf in the way that I'm communicating you and I? Obviously not.
Oh yeah, obviously not, because everything else you've said is perfectly normal. She is, without a shadow of doubt, a wolf, and that's perfectly normal human behaviour. So it's a pretty funny documentary. Matt Walsh is fairly good at that type of American version deadpan humour. In the context of some of this ridiculousness, it works quite well. You laugh at some of the statements from these so-called experts, and then a sadness washes over you as you realise this isn't a comedy routine. This is what people actually believe. Some of my favourite parts are the circular logic used to define a woman. Walsh asks the title, what is a woman? And they define it as someone who identifies as a woman. And Matt calls out their circular definition. Identifies as what? What is that? It's funny watching their minds explode as they trip up on these rudimentary questions. There's a weird narrative running throughout that I feel could have been omitted. Walsh acts as if he's approaching this question openly and unknowingly, when he's clearly already made up his mind on what a woman is. Not to say that he's wrong, but it's quite incongruent. There's weird acted scenes where he wakes up in the middle of the night and can't sleep. Oh, I need to find out what a woman is. Can't sleep. It's pretty bizarre and unnecessary. Overall, I think it's a pretty good documentary. I don't think it's going to change anyone's mind, as most people who are watching this probably just came to see Matt Walsh destroy loony lefties with facts and logic. It's a bit one-sided in that sense. It's more of an attack than a debate. The movie isn't trying to convince both sides. It's more just fodder for the right. And that's fine if you know what you're getting into.